inviting me here, and I want to thank all of you for being here today and to listen to me on a Saturday morning on a pre-Diwali week. So I know that you've probably given up many things to be here today. So, and thank you, Anvesha, Anthony, Ishita, and Namita for helping me with this. So, as it's already been mentioned, I teach cinema studies at JNU at the School of uh, Arts and Aesthetics, and my work is in film studies, but I'm focusing more on sound studies. And I've been a documentary filmmaker, and a lot of my interest in sound studies also comes from that because I made a lot of films on women musicians. Um, so, just to begin today's conversation, and just a few ideas that I would like to share with you why I'm interested in sound studies, and why I think it's important to have conversations around the question of orality and how we listen to our sound environment. So, so I don't want to just be focusing on, of course, I'll be showing you clips and talking about cinema, but later I would like to pose certain general questions. So, one of the things that I would like to talk about is the idea of close listening. So, usually we listen. Yeah. So usually we listen. Yeah. Sure. Thanks. So usually we listen when we listen to sound. We first of all try to listen to the source of the sound, or we try to understand the meaning of sound. But the third way of listening to sound, and this is a concept given by Michel Chion, a French philosopher who writes on cinema and sound, the idea of reduced listening. Reduced listening is when you actually pay very close attention to sound beyond what its meaning is or beyond who is behind that sound. So this is something, just want to throw that idea. Now, one of the things that I want to quickly move on to is that how cinema tries to create an aural attention, right? So especially when we listen to Hindi film songs, if you listen to the early songs, there has been a prominence which is given to the voice. So when the voice is there, then the music is not allowed to dominate, nor is there any sound perspective, nor do we have ambient sound. So even if a character is in a noisy club singing, sound of the noisy club will not be allowed to dominate. So, and this aural attention, that you listen to the singer's voice, which is the most dominant artifact in that particular sequence, is also created by the way the camera is placed, by how the other people in the film look at the singer. And so there is an exchange of looks, there's an editing pattern, so there's a close-up of the singer and other people are looking at her and understanding what she's singing and responding to her. So these are the ways in which aural attention is created. And the second important thing about the Hindi film song is the playback system. So the playback system creates an illusion that sound and image are actually coming from the same source, but actually they are not. Because the playback singer is singing and there's someone else who's performing the song through lip sync. So the lip sync becomes a very, very important way. Now the interesting thing, a lot of people have written about the lip sync, but my own intervention is that the lip sync is very, very important in terms of listening. Because the artist who's performing the song on screen is actually doing very close listening to the playback singer's voice to be able to perform that song. So that itself becomes a way in which the viewer is also being simulated or being asked to listen in. And that is also being done through the use of the camera and the editing pattern. So I just want to play one song. So just to give you a sense of, one, there's playback, Meena Kumari is performing for Lata. So I'm saying that she's listening very closely to Lata to be able to give this kind of performance. At the same time, all the audience within the film is looking at Meena Kumari. So there is an aural attention that is being created through the use of the camera, the editing. And we as viewers who are sitting in this setting or even in an exhibition theatre watching this film, Dil Apna Hai, Preet Parai, are also, being given this kind of a, framework that we have to look at the singer, right? So this is the way the aural attention is being created for this particular song. Now, from this, I want to actually move to the contemporary moment. So I'm making a very big shift here, but just to, to think about today's time and how songs are being produced and created. And I'm sure you all have your favorite songs. I'm sure some of you do watch Bombay cinema. And what we have now is a background song. So the very few songs are now lip synced songs, right? And what we have is a new kind of an aesthetic practice, which I'm saying is actually part of our oral ecology, whether it is our ecology, which is about, ambient television, screens everywhere, whether when we walk on the streets, we are listening to mobile phones and ringtones, and we are listening to all kinds of sound, and, there is a kind of a way in which we are part of this kind of acoustic territory when we are actually negotiating space. The multiplex theatre, so there are, we enter a lift and there is music playing in the lift, and, we have Alexa, and when we are parking and we are, reversing our car, somebody, so there is a kind of an oral ecology that is around us. And what I'm trying to say is that the film song is really part of, or is actually creating a certain kind of a, recording of this kind of an oral ecology. So I just want to show you one or two songs to, make this particular point clear. And so if could I? Yeah. So this is from Dev D, Anurag Kashyap's film. So I'm going to stop here actually, because what I'm wanted to make you hear is actually which is not there in this video, but the entire song. You have actually the conversations between these two people. And what you also have, actually this song is about an MMS circulation, which happened in, I think, 2007, where these school kids, were found to be having sex, and this MMS circulated. And what is interesting about the song is that the way it has been used in the film, if you watch this sequence in Devdi, you will see that how, the subtle ringtones, the way she's being heckled in the school when she enters the school, and how the ringtones become very, very important, in the way she is, and it is almost like it is not the visual of the MMS which is haunting her, but it is the sound, because the boyfriend says to her, "Lenny to best hai," and this sound, "Lenny to best hai," is how she is getting heckled when she goes back to school. And the ringtone, and as she enters the corridor, and I can't make you hear because this is actually, I should have brought my own clip instead of the YouTube video. As she enters the corridor, the ringtones become more and more pronounced. And then by the end of it, the song starts getting, almost like imploding from in between. So the voice becomes atonal, the melody goes haywire, the voice gets destroyed, and then she locks herself into the bathroom. So the whole disintegration of the voice is actually about the disintegration of the person. So this relationship between the body and the sound becomes very important. And the ringtones are very, very subtle. So it's a very, very subtle way in which Anurag Kashyap has actually made this sequence, where the sound design becomes very, very important in the sequence. Um, and the whole idea of, listening over here, there's a very interesting scholar, Anahit Kasabian, who's talking about how we are engaged in ubiquitous listening. You know, we are listening all the time, but it is an inattentive listening. You know, we are always listening in a state of distraction, or you know, there's sound around us. We only listen to what we really want to listen to. I mean, we can't shut our ears the way we can shut our eyes, right? So we are always listening, but then we also have a way of shutting out certain sounds, and you know. But the idea that there is always sound around us, and this is something that is also seeping into cinema in a very interesting way, right? I just want to move to the third. Can I go to the folder and just play one song? I'm so sorry to disturb you. No, my folder is there. Yeah, I'm going to play Slumdog. So I'm going to play you a song from Slumdog Millionaire, which is a film in which Resul Pukuti did the sound design, and he got an award, an Oscar award for this particular film. And of course, he got recognized for this film because it was Danny Boyle, and it was a. But you know, he'd been doing interesting work, right? You know, much before that in Tamil cinema and other films. Yeah. So just want to play this song. So the sound, you have to listen to the sound here. So you can see that the sound over here, you can hear the street, you can hear the fogging machine. It has a sonic perspective. You're entering into an acoustic territory. You're not just entering into a territory through the camera, but you're entering into a territory through ears, through sound, right? And that becomes a very, very important thing in the recent films. And the films now after 2005 have a location sound recording. So even dubbing of dialogues is actually getting minimized because you're trying to get a perspective of sound which is about mobility, which is about movement, which is about directionality, which is about, you know, sonic perspective. And so the entire shift to sound design. So the sound recordist was never given any importance during shoots, but now the sound recordist is a very, very important figure. You know, in fact, when they decide to shoot somewhere, they actually ask the sound person that can we shoot? Is it possible? What time should we shoot? Because they are trying to do location sound recording. And so what I'm trying to talk about is this kind of flows where even the song is actually now part of this entire sound design. So earlier what happened was that when the song came, then it would be like an almost like a separate piece altogether. You know, the song had a different, distinct identity from the film. But now there is a porosity of the song with the film. You can't really make, so if you see this song, you can't really make a distinction when the song begins because the sound is giving you that flow. It starts with the fogging machine and the sound of the fogging machine continues and the sound actually continues. So just to also how mobile phones become very, very important. Even in this sequence, you could hear the mobile phones, the ringtones, part of our sensory infrastructure. Going into a red light area, which is a paralegal, extra legal area, and the whole world of mobile phones, and and the entire kind of subterranean way in which the media works is also being evoked in these kind of songs. And this is something that I also talked about in the song that I played earlier. So there are many examples I can give. Maybe I could play a little bit of one sequence and then just close my remarks. I would like to play this sequence from Tumhari Sulu. This is from Tumhari Sulu. You could reduce it a bit. So I'm not playing a song here, I'm playing a sound sequence. So this is the last sequence. I'm not playing a song, but I'm just trying to. So I'm sure you know the context in this film. Tumhari Sulu, Vidya Balan becomes a radio jockey, and she has a night show, which is a slightly erotic kind of show where people phone in and she talks to them. And how over here you can see that how it is the sound of her voice, which is actually something which cannot be controlled, right? Because sound. This is why I mean I want to talk about a little bit about this. That sound is it is promiscuous. It becomes promiscuous. The promiscuity is not just to Sulu, but it's her voice, and it cannot be controlled, by the husband, because now it is in the public domain. It's no longer that he has any control over it. So the lift man can listen to her. So this the idea that how there's mobility, there is porosity, there is promiscuity about sound. And that is why when we read newspapers, we have a lot of issues related to sound, whether you have, in the DJ nights, you have all these issues coming up about sound that, this song or that song, or, want people to give this slogan and not that slogan, or, listen to this sound and not that sound. So I just want to end by talking about how it is important to think about sound, which we don't give, cinema studies has been so grounded in visuality, talking about the gaze and the male gaze and the female gaze, but not really thought about sound at all. And and especially the digital culture, how sound becomes very, very important, because you can actually mix, you can layer, you can create so many layers, like you people, I'm sure, in your design do with visuals. You do Photoshop and you do Aural and you do all that. But how the sound is so very layered, and therefore there are all these issues which are coming up. And I think there needs to be more conversations around sound. And I think what is interesting is that in cinema studies allows you to actually think about sound, because by showing you these sequences, I'm able to actually draw your attention to the way sound is working in our lives. There is a certain way in which it is getting archived, it's getting congealed, and it allows you to make these kind of conversations, because it's actually this relationship between our sonic journeys, our sonic environment, and what cinema is doing is very much in intersection with each other. So thank you for listening to me, and I would love to hear